Buenas tardes. Good afternoon.
Welcome to everyone to our 10th workshop. It's the 10th telephonic workshop. First, I'd like to wish all of you and hope that you're all fine. My name is Mayor Mataba. I'm part of the multidisciplinary group at Telefónica that works in energy transformation and ecology. And this workshop will be different from all of our other workshops, but I'm sure it'll be as stimulating as all the others. In COVID, we are more sensitive to climate now, and this will take us beyond our normal frontiers. Here we have 500 people in 15 countries will know Telefónica strategy in climate change. And we'll show you how we're taking advantage of the opportunities for this new economy, of low carbon emissions, and those of our customers as well. So over the next 3 days, we will be asking ourselves, because these questions will move us forward, we will make...
Tenemos para descarbonizar la economía desde la
We'll be looking at digitalization. We'll be looking at opportunities after COVID. And we'll look at the climate agreements and the ones that are to come. And we'll be able, as a society, to internalize the environmental costs that we're generating. There's a lot of questions that will be answered. And I'm sure there'll be more questions still. Now, to inaugurate the workshop, we have our CEO, Angel Vilar, to open this session. Thank you very much, Angel, and thanks to all of you.
And welcome to the Energy and Climate Change Workshop. I would have liked to be with you, and this edition is going to be different in many, many ways. This is the first virtual edition of this workshop, and technology and connectivity have made it possible. I feel proud to talk to all of you today and share the achievements and the challenges that we have ahead. In Telefónica, we have been moving towards a more sustainable society for more than a decade. We were pioneers in addressing energy transformation and digital transformation. We are part of the solution to the climate emergency by relying on our networks and our services. Not only are we reducing our carbon footprint, we are also helping our customers address their environmental challenges by implementing solutions in other sectors. Digitalization and sustainability go hand in hand. As such, digital technologies and services are key to decarbonization and to make economies greener, as they can reduce global emissions by between 15% and 35%. This is equivalent to the sum of the current carbon footprints of the European Union and the United States together. Let me share today with you 3 messages. First message, thank you. Thank you for your vision and your achievements. Thanks to all the teams that from the beginning saw opportunities in the green. And my recognition for those companies that advanced with us to address these challenges and helped us with their solutions and their innovation. Thanks to this effort and our ability to anticipate, we have been able to achieve great things together. Our network is becoming more energy efficient and with less carbon emissions every day. In Telefónica, we are being able to keep our consumption stable despite the increase in data, which doubles every 2 years. We have halved carbon emissions since 2015, and this would not have been possible without our focus on energy efficiency and the transformation of our networks. Our energy sources are 100% renewable in our 4 core markets. We have been leaders in CDP for 6 years. We were the first telco to issue a green bond. Our annual report is aligned with the Task Force Financial Climate Disclosure recommendations. And in addition, last year alone, we helped our clients to avoid 3 million tons of carbon with our EcoSmart services. Second message, digital transformation is the way forward. Today, we're facing new challenges arising from COVID-19. We need to address an economic and social recovery and seize this opportunity to build a greener and fairer economy for all. Digitalization is synonymous with growth, with quality employment, with sustainability, and with inclusion. We have a great opportunity ahead of us. In Spain, digitalization could increase GDP by 1.5 to 2.5 percentage points annually by 2025. We must also pay special attention to SMEs, an engine of progress in all the countries where we operate. They should benefit from all advantages of EcoSmart solutions, reducing their energy or water consumption and CO2 emissions, and boosting the circular economy. The pandemic has already increased the use of certain digital solutions, such as IoT, big data, or cloud. Our IoT solutions for the retail sector are increasingly energy efficient and are managing store occupancy flow, temperature changes, ventilation, and air renewal demands. Just in the first months of COVID, Telefónica's customers in Spain prevented the emission into the atmosphere of more than 2 million tons of CO2 with digitalization and telework. This is the equivalent to emissions absorbed by a forest of 36 million trees. To optimize our positive impact, it is essential to put environmental criteria at the heart of all we do. In our case, this means considering them in the design of the networks, in the products we develop, in each purchase and in each investment. This is what we have been doing at Telefónica. We focus on reducing carbon emissions by transforming our networks while turning off legacy. For example, in Spain, we plan to replace 100% of the copper network with fiber by 2025. And we are on our way to shut down the 2G and 3G networks and to be leaders in the implementation of 5G. Let me stress that fiber is 85% more energy efficient than copper, and that this efficiency is even larger with 5G. Furthermore, the benefits of 5G, of course, go beyond efficiency. It is able to create social value in 11 out of 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Telefónica wants to harness this power by taking it to all corners, rural areas, or cities, SMEs, and large companies, so that the digital future brings opportunities for all. Besides taking care of our own emissions, we are helping other sectors with their own homework on decarbonization. And third message, our commitment is reinforced. We have reached great milestones ahead of what we had initially planned. Therefore, we have been able to anticipate our goals and to reinforce them. The climate crisis demands more from us, and that is why we have set more ambitious goals. We are committed to continuing our path of reducing emissions, aligned with a 1.5-degree scenario and going further. Our company will have net zero emissions in 2025 in our 4 key markets, anticipating the target that we had set for 2030. We will also continue with our bet on sustainable bonds, because our company strategy is fully aligned with the Paris Agreement and what our investors need. We will reduce by at least 39% the emissions coming from our value chain by 2025. And we will also accelerate our contribution to the decarbonization of other sectors. By 2025, our customers will avoid the emissions of 5 million tons of CO2 every year. Sustainability is an integral part of the company's strategy. So meeting our emissions target is part of the variable remuneration of the entire team, including the executive committee, of course, including myself. And let me finish by sharing with you our objective to build an inclusive and sustainable connectivity as presented in Telefónica's digital deal. We believe that networks and infrastructure allow communities to grow and progress, improving their quality of life. Again, my gratitude to all of you for your efforts to address this new wave of change so that we can achieve a green digital transformation to create a more sustainable present and future. We are all fully committed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ángel. Bueno, es un orgullo para
We're proud to belong to a company like Telefónica with such a high commitment. We now have Ms. Valderrano from the Sustainability Committee. Could you come up here, please? Good afternoon. A pleasure for me to be here at this 10th edition, the 11th edition, and share with you what we're doing. And COVID-19 has shown us how fragile our society is to deal with things like a pandemic or climate change. The experts agree that the best vaccination is to protect nature and biodiversity. And all of the recovery programs today being fostered by governments and the EU are programs that will have a great impact in the future, but are going to be long-lasting over time. It's an opportunity to take advantage of these transformation programs to have greener societies. And it's clear that digitization is going to be basic in the economic recovery as well as in the decarbonization of the economy. And it's not just us, but the World Economic Forum, as Ángel mentioned, says that the emissions could be between 15 and 35% lower with digitization. McKinsey says that the productivity of companies, especially the SMEs, could increase between 15 and 25% thanks to digitization. Not just that, but investors have changed their strategies and they're looking for companies and sectors that are greener and more sustainable. So in that respect, Forbes says that by the end of next year, there'll be about 1 trillion green bonds on the market, and the consumers are searching for companies and brands that collaborate in social welfare and economic welfare, and 81% of the consumers believe that companies should work for a greener future as well. And Telefónica, as Ángel said, is very committed to a world where technology contributes to protecting the planet. And now how do we do that? Through 2 main pillars. The first is reducing the impact of our operations. Why? Because if we have our telecoms network, which is more efficient in terms of energy and emissions, well, connectivity that we offer to our customers will also be greener, of course. Also, the second column is supporting our customers to decarbonize their activity. Digitization and connectivity are key to help other sectors, and we collaborate with our products and services so that they're more efficient in energy, in terms of energy, water, reducing emissions, and contributing to the circular economy. The first pillar, we're ahead of our commitment to be have zero emissions by 2025. This covers scope 1 and 2. Now, we are reducing our energy consumption and emissions since 2015. In 2019, we reduced emissions by 70%. Now, what are we going to do from here forward? The emissions that we cannot reduce because we can't reduce anymore, we're going to neutralize those with absorption projects, CO2 absorption projects. Now, so by 2025, we'll reduce our emissions by 90%, and the other 10% will be compensated for. Now, how we're going to do this? With a decarbonization strategy, which is global and country by country. You'll see that over the next couple of days with transformation of the network with more efficient technologies, with an increase in renewable and the consumption of renewable energy in the 4 main markets. It's 100% renewable, but in Hispam, we haven't reached that 100% level yet. And we're also going to establish a carbon price so that in all of our processes, that is we include the price of carbon. Now, selecting projects to neutralize emissions, how will we do that? Well, these will be projects that absorb CO2, preferably with nature-based solutions. These will be national and international projects, and we're going to try as much as possible so that these projects will have a benefit because they generate employment or they create biodiversity, and they will be certified by the main international standards. Today, we have a project that will compensate in neutralizing emissions, 100% of the emissions of our operation in Brazil. Now, this is a project that promoted by sustainable agricultural and forest protection. Now, this creates tremendous benefits, not only for the society, because we also reduce the risk that we have of climate change, regulatory risks, market risks, and reputational risks. Also, assuming this reduction of our own emissions legitimizes us to promote products and services for our customers that are based on a completely green network, and we contribute to generating a Telefónica culture. And all of our employees then can feel proud and live this green experience, and we can become a company that attracts talent. The second pillar is that we want to be allies of our customers in the decarbonization process, and we've increased our ambition there as well. By 2025, we want to prevent 5 million tons of carbon. Now, this objective, well, in 2019, we already reduced in 2.3 million tons of emissions of our customers. Now, how do we do this? Well, through our products and services focused on teleworking, IoT and big data, audio and video solutions, cloud, and other digital services like e-health. Digital solutions will be essential to generate these business opportunities and to really make us partners of our customers in their decarbonization process. Now, through our products and services that we call EcoSmart because they save energy, water, lower CO2 emissions, and contribute to the circular economy. Now, to just summarize the table of objectives that we want you to have in mind, as I said before, well, 100% of renewables in the four main markets already, and in the future by 2025 in Hispam, and the consumption by traffic, we want to decrease that by 90% by 2025, and our level 3 to be reduced by 39%, and neutralization with absorption of CO2, and of course the reduction of emissions in the products and services of our customers. I would like to point out, and we have some good news now, we just have the sustainability index and has validated us as leaders in this sector in terms of the environment, in efficiency reduction, emissions reduction. We're leaders in this sector, and also in terms of the reliability of our network, we have the highest score. So we've become leaders in that category as well. And this is thanks to this work that we've been doing over many years now. And so I think the objective is important, but even more important is how we're accomplishing this and how this company is key to digitization, decarbonization, and better economic progress. Thanks very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thanks very much, Elena, for that. I think that you're helping us to respond to those initial questions about the role that digitization will play in the decarbonization of the different sectors. And our next we have Juan Manuel Cano talking about operational transformation. And he'll get into a little bit more detail regarding our objectives. Thanks very much, Juan Manuel. Good afternoon to everyone. Good morning in Latin America. I'm really happy to be here because there's been just so many doubts over the last several months, so I'm very happy to be here. Work has to go forward, and this workshop really needs to be held. I think you've all been working, teleworking, some people going out to do technical work. So at this event, this is my 9th consecutive event that I've been at. So I'm going to start by talking a little about what we've done over the last year, our ambitions, even more ambitious. And so at least virtually we can share with you where we are and where we're heading and all of the different discussions that we can have in this virtual format. Now, as there's about 500 people connected in many different countries today, this is not the work of just in one area. It's all the different areas are represented here in operations, sustainability, finance, procurement, human resources, communication, IT. All of the different areas of the company are all working together on this, so that this project is a reality. The Dow Jones has shown that it's possible. Now, all these different operations, as you can see here, we're working every day to make all of this possible. This year, we also have some special challenges. We have working with the University of Carlos III. We're collaborating with these different partners. And for the first time, we have partners like Microsoft, where we have a strategic agreement on cloud. And it's very intensive in consumption of the energy consumption of the data centers and so forth. So they can contribute quite a bit to this whole, all this teleworking and the digitization process. We also have Orange and Vodafone. This is new in this year. There are enemies on many fronts, and so But here on this, in this project, in this fight to be more efficient and to fight against climate change, well, we're all working, we're all in the same boat, and we're all pulling in the same direction. We have the same problems. We have to look for solutions together in a very open fashion. And as always, all of our other partners that make this workshop possible with the cutting edge technology, helping us with new solutions and products, and thinking of how to improve, and helping us to make all of this a reality, and working with us around the world. You have all of the companies that are helping us. There are more and more companies, and we're all pulling in the same direction here. So it's a pleasure to be here once again with all of you, even if it's a kind of a different format. Now, for those of you who are new, just to remind you of some of the figures here and our consumption patterns. We have about 200,000 points of consumption around the world in different countries in Europe, Latin America, and we consume 6,569 gigawatts. This is equivalent of a country like El Salvador with almost 6 million people, so it's very important. And it's very important for us to keep this under control. Now this consumption, the energy consumption and climate change, it's focused here in our Global Energy Center. We have sustainability managers in all the countries. We're working full time to make this a reality. One of the best things that's been done in Telefónica is create this family where we're all working together to meet the same objectives. And this is a special workshop, so I wanted to do something special. We can look backwards in history. Maybe it's a good idea to look at how the world has changed and how this whole process began. Now, we went all the way back to 2005, when I had a lot more hair than I have now, and so there are people here that have been working with this. Hector in Chile or Sergio in Uruguay have been working on this since 2005. I just wanted to acknowledge that. A lot of people have been working for many, many years and for this. And back in 2005, we began very slowly with some best practices, some initial meetings, first workshop in Latin America. So all this began with just 4 operators. And in 2007 then, in the group, the Climate Change Office was first formed. So then it became sustainability, and energy savings became more centralized, to have this central point of management to work together as a real group. And we had some meetings in Latin America. In 2008, that was a good year. We set the first objectives, but we established those publicly. And then in 2015, we talked about the public targets to reduce energy consumption. And this was a really big step, because in 2007, that's when the first iPhone was launched. And the world changed. And consumption changed with smartphones, traffic changed, the networks changed. So in 2008, to establish those objectives, just when this revolution was starting, and many of you here, you know that you had to work doubly hard to meet those objectives. So with these rapid changes, these commitments become even harder, but we did do it thanks to your hard work. So in this first stage, everything was more focused in Latin America. And in this second stage, after 2010, the work became more global. We had the first event in 2010 here in Madrid, in this auditorium. We put together a handbook. We had learned something in 2011. I came in to the position that I hold now, And during this period, we set this stage for what we are today. We had some very ambitious technical processes implemented that we're continue to implement many of these now, and we've done tremendous work on our network.
In the last few years, you can see global capex. Telefónica took a very brave decision, and it put aside part of its capex, which is being used to deploy fiber, 4G, 5G, and it put a bit aside and securitized it within my budget to finance energy efficiency projects in the operators. And that brought about a great change. So we suddenly had a budget that was dedicated for that. We didn't have to fight for it. So that's an important milestone. So it doesn't compete with anything else. It has to be done. That was a very brave decision. And a lot of you are part of that competences, those competences, and we work increasingly as a single body on this project, which is a project that is part of all of us. And it's wonderful to see how you share ideas, projects, etc. This was the first year when we joined the CDP A list. It's a bit of a spoiler, but we've been there for all these consecutive years, and that makes us very proud. Now, in the last years, we've had a global capex and a competency center that was dedicated 100% to managing the system, and I think that we have achieved a great deal. And you can see some of those achievements. We're especially proud of 2 awards from the GSMA we got in the Mobile World Congress in the last 2 years. Our colleagues, telecommunication companies, and I don't think there are a lot of companies that have achieved this twice in the last 4 years. And we got the energy efficiency program and our renewable energy program. So it's a great recognition. We also began to look at alternative models in the last few workshops. We always said CapEx wasn't enough, that we had to do more, had to be more ambitious. So we looked for other alternatives, investments with third parties to risk share. And that is what you can see with energy savings as a service. And as Ángel said, last year we issued the first green bond in the sector. This year, the first hybrid bond. We continue to be on the A list, as I said before. So, on the CDP list A. So, bit by bit, we are becoming more demanding and setting higher objectives. So, we've got a track record. Being brave, the brave ones started out alone to create a structure up until 2020 where we have a recognized project, recognized by the industry, where we are hundreds of people with a dedicated center, with a dedicated budget, with a clear objective, with our managing director on board, with an executive director on board. So the challenges are increasing, and we have to remember where we've come from, because all of those of you who have participated to a certain extent need to feel that your work is being recognized. And not all news is good news this year, but I do think that it is fair to recognize this. So now if we come on to the standards, how was 2019? I expect you feel nervous. Was it a good year? Yes, it was a good year. If you have a look there, we've done more energy efficiency projects than ever. The objectives are increasingly ambitious. The Lohan Prince, as the English would say, the most straightforward efficiencies, the basic efficiencies have already been done in the last few years. So we have to do an increasing number of projects. Our consumption patterns do not allow us to reduce it just by 10. We have to have lots of projects, work on lots of things, lots of lines in a lot of countries, fixed mobiles in our networks, so that in the end we can manage to do more than 1,000 projects last year, 760, and we have saved more than 760 million euros, and it's a lot of money. Doing all sorts of projects, working on technology and the network to have more efficient technologies. We've got the cooling, doing free cooling. That's almost 200 million savings there. Procurement on the free market and purchase of energy, PPAs, changing of lighting. So a lot of small projects, but all of it sums up. And it's a question of becoming increasingly efficient and people contributing their ideas. It's normal that your brain could become atrophied because there's so many we have to finance and execute those projects and ensure that it hits our profit and loss account with our net emissions. As Ángel said, traffic continues to grow, and this is a pattern that doesn't seem will change with the launch of 5G, IoT. This is something that we have to live with, and the idea was to decouple consumption of growth with traffic, that it doesn't grow at the same level, because otherwise it would be crazy. So not only are we not growing at the same time, but our consumption is dropping. We're keeping it flat, 3%, 1% last year, maybe 2-3% this year. So we are ensuring that we can provide our customers with a service which is a lot better, a greater service, but with net consumption, not per unit of traffic, which is lower year on year. And that is being with greater deployment of 5G and with 2, 3 and 4G and the use of new technologies which are more efficient and together with all our projects. So this figure, we need to continue to keep it negative. It is key to drop it as far as possible. So last year was successful. We met our objectives. So once again, we've sat down together and we have committed to objectives which are even more ambitious. You can see objectives for 2025, objectives for 2030, and none of these are easy. We're increasingly going to have to reinvent ourselves, do things differently, but I'm sure that we will be able to do this. Elena has given us the headlines already, so I'm going to go into more detail as to where we find ourselves now and what we have to do for each of these objectives. The first objective has to do with using renewable energy. That might seem easy because you have got 100% on screen there. And it is true that last year we managed to use 100% of our renewable energies in our 4 main markets. But we don't want to remain there. We have an objective to do this in Hispam, 100% by 2030, and we have work to do in that field, although we have achieved 100% in some places. So this is the evolution of the use of renewable energies. In 2015, only 20% of the energy of the group was renewable. There we have UK and Germany already with 100% with certificates bought in renewable energies. And Spain, then Spain joined that group of 100%. And as you see, other countries started making progress. Last year, the 4 main projects are already 100% renewable. And in Hispan, we have Colombia, Peru, Chile, Mexico, and we hope positive evolution in the next few years. And this depends on the development of this type of market in each of the countries as to what we can do. So we have to work closely with regulators and markets to ensure that we can become 100% renewable in these countries. And we're going to work very hard with the markets, not on an individual basis. So we hope that by 2030 we'll be 100% renewable in all our operations. And that brings me to the end. Does that bring us to the end? No, not at all. If you look at how we reached the figure of 100% renewable energies, this has been through the purchase of certificates that guarantee that the energy that we use has been generated by electricity companies through a renewable source. And that's very good because it guarantees that we're using renewable energy. But there's something that we want to work on in the next few years. We already are. It's not a question of just buying certificates for renewable energy from the electricity companies, but to help investors who want to set up solar panels or wind farms, etc., to guarantee that we will consume from them so that they can become a reality. And that we call this PPAs, power purchase agreements, and we have several around the world. The energy is therefore renewable, but it's not 100%, but it does help the energy efficiency of these countries, and it makes these projects more viable because the more energy that is, the more energy is created in a sustainable manner in these countries, the better. So more energy will be consumed through this type of agreement, the PPAs. And then there's self-generation. We don't have a great deal of services to build solar panels, but we have some rooftops, we have some facilities, we have manners of generating for self-generation, and we are rather limited here, but we are 100% working with renewable energies in our 4 main markets, but we need to work on having the others get there too. I brought 3 examples, so some of you are aware of these, and these are perhaps the biggest projects we've done in the group. There's been an agreement that was reached between Acciona and Telefónica Spain in order to create an area that will supply us with 100 gigawatts per hour per year for Spain. And this would be equivalent to the tons of CO2 that 430 trees could consume per year. And thanks to us and consumers, this will be possible, and it will be considered green generation. So it goes further than the certificate. So we have another more modest plan for self-generation, which is the main storage area in Villaverde on the outsides of Madrid, and there are 750 solar panels on the rooftops, and this will generate 440 megawatts per hour per year. And this is a project which is very interesting too, and the buildings that we can use, we will do so in the future. The biggest project we have is the distributed generation in Brazil. This is a slightly different project because it's not a big plant, but it's rather 50 plants throughout Brazil in 24 out of the 26 states, whereby they will feed into 28,000 feed-in points. These are water generation facilities, gas, solar facilities, smaller facilities that give us clean energy but also generate jobs and improve the environment in all of these states. So it's a huge project, and if you look there, it's almost equivalent to 10% of the energy of the group, and it's a project that we feel extremely proud about. So these are examples of big projects, but we're going to have to do a lot more of these, and we hope that the curve of the PPAs and self-generation will grow, and that we will not just be complacent with the certificates. So that's what we'll work on in the next few years. The second objective I wanted to mention is the reduction of consumption per unit of traffic. Our network, where all the traffic goes through, and where we provide our services to our customers, has to be increasingly efficient. We have an objective of 75% recently, but we are trying to grow that to 90%. Total consumption of the company, well, 95% is for the technical side of things, technical sites, mobiles, fixed data centers, etc. That's what we make a living of, and we provide the service like that. But we have to make it increasingly efficient. A lot of the projects that I mentioned before are dedicated to this, to ensure that the network is more efficient, to reduce net consumption. And there are lots of things that we're doing that I mentioned before, the renewal of equipment, free cooling, and switching off copper legacies to make equipment more compact, change the light. There are a lot of initiatives, each of them being done in different countries, states, and areas, and we need to continue working on this. We need to bring about the reduction of 90% of our consumption of our equivalent traffic. We have an advantage for the next 5 years, and that is that technology will help us, but we need to be smart. We are at a time, from the network point of view where I work, where it is a huge revolution. Network will change hugely in the next 5 years, more so than in the last 20 years. We've been deploying fiber, and this isn't so new anymore. We are one of the world leaders in the deployment of fiber, and in Spain, well, Brazil too, and some countries in Latin America, you will have seen published our intention to deploy in Germany too. So fiber is 85% more efficient than copper, as Angel said. So that technological renewal will help us. And then 5G is coming along. We're deploying that in our European markets in the 3, and then as from next year, it will become available more hugely. and it's 90% more efficient than the prior technologies we have. So the more traffic we are able to put on that network, the better service we'll be able to provide with less consumption. And this is not the only thing. The network will change. We're coming to virtualization, separating hardware from software, computing, and those of you who work in the sector will be familiar with these terms. So everything will change. We are building the network for the next 15 to 30 years, and then technology may change more quickly, but these things are a revolution. There'll be a lot more software, and we have to take advantage and build things properly, because the network, the copper network that was built since 1924, I think wasn't in the core. It wasn't the core of energy efficiency at the time, but now we have to build a network which is new, and we need to build it making it customer centric, but also the environment is important, is essential, so it has to be sustainable by design. This has to be the core, and it's not enough to deploy 5G or fiber. We have to deploy in an intelligent manner. And I have an example of what we're working on. If I go to a base station and have a radio and a 5G cabinet next to 4G, 3G, and 2G, well, I'm going to provide a 5G service to my customers, and it will be more efficient, but I'm missing out on a great opportunity. If I got to go there and I have to make an investment, let's make a good investment and do things properly. So we're working on in the group to create a smart site, a perfect site in all respects, more efficient from the operational point of view, to break down less, and from the sustainability and energy efficiency point of view, with free cooling, with rectifiers, with the antennas, and leaving everything new, so that for the next few years it will be the most efficient and trustworthy, reliable system that exists from all points of view. So we have the best opportunity ever. 5G is totally different. It's much bigger, and we have to build it properly from the start. And this is what we all are working on in the technical teams. We have the objective of being to have net zero emissions by 2025 in our main 4 markets, per Hispam for 2040. And what does this mean? Well, Elena's already told us about this in general. We've been working on reducing our carbon footprint. Most of you are familiar with the terminology. You can see the refrigeration gases, fuels, electrogen, all these things that we consume. And then we have the energy that we buy from the electricity companies. So this has dropped by 50% in the last few years. This has been helped along by the projects we have, but also through the purchase of renewable energies. But we still have 1 million tons of CO2 per year, and that's the objective that we have to attack up until 2025. Most continues to be non-renewable electricity, and then we have some smaller ones such as fuels for cars or for refrigerants, etc. So how are we going to attack this? Well, I mentioned this before. We're going to continue working on all the projects to reduce our consumption on the network, so that the electricity we buy is mainly renewable. And it's everything we've already mentioned, but where it's not possible to reduce, to take it to zero, we will compensate for this. We'll offset it. Like the example Elena gave us from the Amazons in Brazil. So we have a great operation which is carbon neutral, and it is Brazil this year. It's done a great job, and what cannot be offset, well, credits have been bought to neutralize them. We have a firm commitment to ensure that in our 4 main markets, they will continue working on this up until 2025. So this is a huge challenge, to be neutral in Latin America by 2040. So it's a great pleasure to be here. We are a team made up of many people. with many skills, both technical and from support areas and operations, cooperation from Telefónica and our partners that we collaborate with, but with a single objective. Again, it's been an exceptional year where we've met our objectives, and again, 2020 is a year where we will think about our ambitious projects again and for the medium term. A lot of you don't really know how we're going to do this, but I'm sure that just as has happened in prior events, not only will we reach these values, but we will surpass these values. So I wish you a lot of luck. Enjoy the event. Participate too. I've participated in quite a lot of online events as a speaker, as a panel member, as a spectator. It is hugely difficult. We can't hug each other. That's very Latin. And you can't have a debate, lively debate in person, but these workshops are the seed that we will be working on for the rest of the year. And we have to ensure that the virtual world is not a barrier, just a different way of working and of taking on challenges, of sharing projects and successes and failures, and to have a clear plan on how to take on these projects for this year and 2021 and the future. So enjoy the workshop, work hard, and a hug to all of you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Juanma.
Thank you, Juanma. Well, with this session, that's brought us to the end of the inauguration sessions. So I think that all of you understand what the new challenges are, and the climate ambition requires this. And so Telefónica is therefore making progress in this respect. And we are not committed to the 1.5 degrees C. We want to surpass that objective in our main markets. We have seen how the company is wanting to bring about green digitization so that our potential impact is greater. So we have to do our homework, and we're going to deploy the networks, always thinking about the core. As the speakers have said, we have to deploy our networks thinking about these efficiencies right from the start, and that will make a difference. I think that with these messages, we can bear farewell to our guests, not farewell to those who attend the workshops, but to investors, employees in the company who are very interested in knowing what the work is that Telefónica does in this field, who are very much aligned with these objectives. Not only the steering committee, but all employees and who feel very proud to belong to this company. There's a lot of work that lies ahead of us, and next year we will see each other again to see what progress has been made. So we'll watch a short video now, and thank you ever so much to all of you for having put aside these few minutes to be together.
Bueno, parece que hemos hecho un cambio. Simplemente lo que...
Well, there's been a change. Well, we've just bid farewell to the guests who were here, who were watching from Telefonica.com, from Workplace and the company, and now we are at a smaller event, Petit Comité. But normally there are about 250 people. This year